tonight we are here with Alejandro Heredia, who is, yes. So, Alejandro Heredia is a writer from the Bronx. He has received fellowships from Lambda Literary Dominican Studies Institute, UNLV's Black Mountain Institute, and elsewhere, and he received an MFA in fiction from Hunter College. Loca is his debut novel. Please welcome Alejandro. Thank you. And today's podcast host is none other than Aida Rodriguez. Yes. Aida is a comedian, a writer, and an actor, a favorite of critics and fans alike. Esquire magazine declared her, "This is Rodriguez's genius, using comedy to turn pain into progress, to give voice to the voiceless, and to laugh instead of cry." Aida lives in Los Angeles, and she is the host of Say What You Mean. Welcome, Aida.
What's up, everybody? How you doing? Good. Thank you for the warm welcome, and this was amazing to see you guys just immediately get quiet when she came up here. Yeah. And I was like, a reading audience is right now it's of the essence. Yeah. But I'm like, wow, like I'm so humbled to be in your presence because that is not my everyday life in the world of comedy. So thank you. First of all, congratulations. Can you share with everybody what happened? I like to put people on the spot, especially when they're humble.
Yes. What happened this week?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so excited that you're here with me.
I'm excited to be here.
Let's see. So I am not good at bragging or
That's why I want you to do it.
Yeah. This week, my novel got a very fancy literary sort of nomination for a literary award from the Center for Fiction. It's a big deal for a debut novelist. Yeah.
I know that's an awkward place to start, but I think that it is very important for us to take up space and be able to talk our shit because you should be proud and you should be okay with bragging when children of a lesser God have no problem bragging. Yeah. And that's a big deal, you know? So congratulations and thank you for sharing with us this amazing news because you are worthy. You deserve it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's take care of business real quickly. Welcome, everyone. Hello, this is another episode of Say What You Mean, where people come to say the things that they wish they would have said and didn't. And here, you get to hear it first. I have the distinct honor of having a conversation with Alejandro Heredia, the author of Loca. And I'm very excited to have this conversation because on Say What You Mean, I've had a host of actors, comedians, entertainers, but never an award-nominated author. So you're my first. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah. You guys can clap, snap, do whatever you want. Say What You Mean is not a rehearsed show. I don't know if you watched it, but we just go with the flow. First of all, I want to say thank you for writing this beautiful piece of literature because I would stop and cry because I saw my family, saw myself in this. I want you to tell us, because we talked about this. This book is not about your life. This is a world that you created that is a reflection of your life and the life of many others. But I want you to tell me, what was the seed that sparked this beautiful book?
Yeah, so there were many things that sparked the beginning of the book. The first thing is that in 2018, my cousin, who was my brother, passed away. And after he passed away, I was very depressed, and I was going through this sort of process, sort of self-destruction. I had all this energy, and I was going out and being super reckless. And at one point, I sat down and I thought, I'm either going to continue on this path, or I ought to do something with all this energy that I have, because I was sort of filled with energy and pain. And I sat down to write. I thought maybe I can write something that honors some of what it's like to be a queer Dominican person in New York. And then I sort of went from there. The novel was also greatly inspired by my mother's generation of immigrants, Dominican folks who came to the U.S., to the Bronx specifically in the 90s. Folks who like went through so much difficulty, but also created so much beauty out of their experiences.
Loca. It is a term that many of us use, but specifically within the queer community, which we've heard. Tell us about the title of the book.
Yes. So, loca is a thing that people say to each other in a lot of different contexts, right? So, a loca is, in the Dominican context, is a woman who does not adhere to the social norms that are expected of her. So, if she's wearing something that she's not supposed to wear, or if she's not married at a very particular age, or if she has too many lovers, whatever it is, then she's a loca, right? Loca is also a word that people have used in the Dominican context to denigrate queer men who are feminine. So people would say, mira esa loca walking around or whatever. The beautiful thing is that queer people, like Latinos, like black folks, like all of us, we take the language that is used to denigrate us and to dehumanize us, and we turn it on its head and we use it to empower each other.
Yeah.
So actually now in the context of our current moment, queer Dominican people use loca as a way to refer to each other like sis, like hey sis, hey loca, que lo que, what's going on, you know?
Yeah, it's like when in English they'll say bitch.
Yes.
I thought about it because remember when Shakira was Dominican?
Yes,
And
yes.
yeah, she went through her Dominican phase and she
Yes.
had soy loca por mi tic. Because people,
A lot of people go through a Dominican phase.
yeah,
I will
oh
say.
no, Puerto Ricans, they
Yeah,
cosplay us when it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing. And she had a song, Soy loca por mi
Yes.
tigre.
Yeah, I
Loca,
remember
loca,
that.
loca. And I was like, all right. So these people are my friends, right? So first of all, I saw myself in Charo, right? I was a very young mom. I was a very toxic dude, so on and so forth. Sal, Yadiel, Ren. Who are these people in real life to you, though? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think as a fiction writer, I try to be very careful about protecting the people in my life.
sure.
Which means that when I start to write, there are questions that I have about my mother or my cousin or my neighbor. And those questions that I have about the people in my life then become the foundation for the character that I create.
Yes.
But the characters always have to be their own people on the page. And I take that very seriously, especially because for writers of color, for queer writers, we always get the question of like, oh, who is this, your mom on the page, or is this you on the page? As if we are not intelligent enough to invent and create from scratch, you know?
Yeah. Everything is autobiographical, and they love to laugh at our trauma. They're like,
Yes.
they want to,
Yes, yes, yes.
which is
Yeah.
one of the issues that I had with my book. The journey between the Dominican Republic and the Bronx in this book is something that's very relatable to a lot of people. Those people that have gone back and forth, a lot of people don't know. I lived in the Dominican Republic first. That was I was taken from Boston straight there. I was what they call an anchor baby now, but that was just part of the journey of having a Dominican father. How important was it for you to tell the Dominican Republic part of this story? Because I think it's instrumental in shaping what happens when we get here, when we come to America.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was just really important to show that some people are live their lives split between two places.
Yeah.
That they are emotionally here and intellectually there, or intellectually here and emotionally there. And that happens sometimes because you have a family member that's living on the island. But even if you don't have a family member living there, if you grow up in a place, it stays with you forever. And so for me, it was really important to highlight that. And it was also really important for me to highlight how queer Dominican people fit into that narrative. I grew up reading so many books by immigrant writers. They talk about how difficult it is to leave your home behind. But I just wanted to highlight or sort of explore what are the conditions that push queer people specifically to leave, and how does a queer person relate to their home when they can't go back, or when they feel like they can't go back because they've experienced trauma or societal oppression.
I think one of the interesting things about this book, and you just spoke to it, is that when we hear these conversations, people of color, Black people, social media, there's always an othering of queer people within our communities. And we tend to forget that when we're talking about oppression, we forget the intersectionality of what it's like to be a queer person who happens to be Black or brown. And the toxic masculinity in our communities tend to really just really weaponize the worst of it on queer people, as if they don't belong to us, you don't belong to us too. And so I think that when you have this conversation, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and Cuba, and that's just the Spanish-speaking Caribbean. We're going to go to Jamaica. We're going to go. There's this very anti-queer sentiment that is dangerous. Even people lose their lives. We read about this in the books, and I lost my uncle to this. So when you were writing about this, tell me, what was that emotional journey for you? Because you're speaking for a lot of spirits that are now amongst ancestors that are amongst us that lost their lives to this very thing.
Yeah, for me, it was really complicated. Part of what I was trying to do to challenge myself to think about was to ask myself questions like, what would it have been like to have a queer adolescence on the island? Because that wasn't my experience. I grew up in the Bronx. It was partly that. But frankly, I think I also wanted to challenge some of my own prejudices about queer Dominicanness, because I understand how deep homophobia and transphobia is in our communities. But I think growing up, I kind of internalized this idea that somehow we are more homophobic and transphobic than everybody else. And the truth is that these isms, forms of hate, exist everywhere.
Absolutely.
But as a mentor of mine once said, wherever there is oppression, there is resistance. People are always making their way, making their spaces. So I just wanted to challenge myself to think beyond this narrative that, queer people in queer New York is so much better than queer Dominicanness. That's why in the book, there is a lot of difficulty, but there's also a lot of joy.
Yes.
There's these folks like hanging out at Parque Duarte. There's these folks going to parties, loving each other and challenging each other. I wanted to express all of that humanity.
You know what I think is very interesting? One of the times I laughed out loud when I was reading the book is that we talk about homophobia as if it is exclusive to men. And there are a lot of women who are homophobic, and the girls that bother, Yadiel and Sal. And I remember one of them saying, "I hate girls." And I was like, because she threw something. It was with the mangoes, when they were eating the mangoes. Yeah. And I was just like, I understand. I understand that on the deepest level, that women are just as problematic, can be just as problematic as men. And it's this exclusive, especially now, because right now, we're always speaking in generalizations, right? Like men are a problem, blah, blah, blah. White people are, so many people are the problem. Anti-blackness is something that exists with everybody, including Black American people. We speak of it. You always hear about Dominicans like they are like it's been branded as a Dominican thing, but anti-blackness exists everywhere. Spike Lee did a movie called School Days addressing colorism. And so I just think it's interesting that when you hear the homophobia, women kind of glide through as if they can't be transphobic. And I think that the book did a beautiful job at speaking to how the foundations of these behaviors and biases and these, tell me how did you, is that from your own life? Did you hate girls? Because I hated them. I hated girls in middle school. They were awful.
That's so funny. I almost took out that line from the book.
I'm glad you did it.
I thought about it so much because I didn't want to, I don't know, I didn't want to perpetuate. And I didn't want to perpetuate what is also exists, which is misogyny from gay men, because we're all doing all this hateful stuff to each other, But I did find I was writing this novel in my 20s, and I spent the first half of my 20s really struggling to explain my experiences to my best friends or my closest friends. Most of my closest friends are women, heterosexual women, a lot of them. And there were so many ways that they just did not get it. Like I would explain to them, for example, hey, I don't want to go to straight clubs. Like I don't feel comfortable in straight clubs. I don't have fun in straight clubs. And if I'm single, I'm not going to get any in a straight club. And so...
unless it's at the RNC.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Oh my God. Did you hear about the Grindr shutdown?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. And so that's just one example, but I did want to highlight that tension because it's not a tension that is spoken about very often. That in so many ways it is cis heterosexual women who welcome queer men, and there's such beauty in that bond. Mm-hmm. That's why Sal and Charo are the main characters. Mm-hmm. But also, at the beginning, when Charo meets Sal and Yadiel, she has all these prejudices that she's sort of thinking about. Some of them she's saying, some of them she's not. But she finds it hard to not be homophobic.
Yeah, I know.
And that's okay.
I mean, what's interesting is like I look at it and I think about all the things that they said to me growing up, and you see these groups of people, and then she's like, you little gay boys, whatever, and then they're like, you a hoe. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like it's because these are the things that we're told. Yeah. I think it's so. I think it's interesting to have the conversation about women who have queer friends, because sometimes I was raised by a queer man, so they are not your pets. You know what I mean? Like this idea, like do you have a gay? I have a gay. I'm like, you mean human beings? That these are people. Like there's this thing with sometimes straight women. It's just so it's so fucked up how messed up we all are, and how morally superior we always think we are to somebody else. I want to talk about the main characters for a little bit. I mean, I want to talk about Sal, right? Because Sal, the thing that I think is interesting about Sal questions his bravery, questions his voice constantly, and I think Sal is brave, right? Tell me about the development of Sal. Tell me everything you can about Sal.
Yes. So, for folks who haven't read it, at the beginning of the novel, Sal is 25. He is this young gay Dominican man. He lives in the Bronx. And at the very first page, he's going to an interview for his dream job at a museum. He gets up to go, and he freezes. He doesn't go. And you follow along, the novel sort of follows his story along, trying to understand what is it about his past life in Santo Domingo that he's not dealing with. That impulse was inspired by so many people that I know that do not speak or cannot speak about what happened to them. This was my entire life. My grandfather, my grandmother, so many folks, especially from that generation, went through a civil war, were born into a dictatorship, just went through so much stuff. And still, my grandfather's almost 80, my grandmother's 88. They still can't talk about that stuff. So I really wanted to capture the spirit of a character or a person who went through something very difficult and is trying to make a new life, but just can't because the past keeps getting in the way. And it's so funny that you bring up the bit about courage, because I think he is a coward sometimes.
Oh yeah, no.
And I wanted to push. Part of the inspiration for that character was me asking myself, or me wanting to push the reader to ask themselves, how can we continue to be responsible to one another even when shit gets really, really hard? Especially when shit gets really hard, because that is when we need each other.
Yeah.
When we're partying, when we're clubbing, when we're going to brunch, it's easy.
Facts.
You just show up and have a good time.
Well, I think The Wizard of Oz really messed us all up with this idea that these characteristics are, courage is a choice, not a trait.
Yeah.
Right? We have to choose to be courageous. It's not this idea that we're the lion or the Tin Man. Like, and I use that lightly, but I think there's this idea that you have to, that you are, people say to me all the time, "You're so brave. You speak truth to power." And I'm like, no, I don't. I'm not. I have never had a conversation with the people in charge. You know what I mean? I get scared, and sometimes I'm worried and I'm afraid. I'm buckling at the knees when I'm shouting and people don't know. I have to choose to be brave. And the reason I say Sal is brave is because there is softness and courage. It's not always brass and bold and loud. Sometimes exploring those things that make you feel vulnerable, where you are able to go dig into the wound, is courage, even if everybody else can't see it, right? Now, Chattel, that's my bitch. I love her. There's so much of, first of all, thank you for talking about the salon.
Yeah.
The idea of, I don't think, hair trauma, which is something that most people have, right? You talk, even if you talk to, I have an Irish friend has curly hair, and she's got hair trauma because her hair is not naturally flowy and straight. And they be like, you got some black in you. they to her. And I'm like, all of y'all do. Like, relax. So Chattel, tell me about Chattel, because Chattel is a good time.
Yeah, Chattel began with this question that I had about my mom. So as I said, my mom came to the U.S. in the 90s. But it seems to me from what she shares that she was very lonely at first. And I wanted to know, how would my mother's experience have been like if she would have had friends? A group of friends to hold her down, like real friends, not just like, people that you see at the bodega or whatever, like real friends who show up for you, who push you. That's where the character began. And then I started to ask myself questions about that generation of immigrant women and some of their experiences. For folks that haven't read the book, Chattel is a young mom. She's 25. Her baby is about almost 2 when the book starts. And she is in a relationship with a man who she loves, but who is controlling. And there's a lot of tension between them because he wants her to be, for lack of a better word, a traditional woman. And she is saying, I can do all these things, but I also need to be my own person.
That's right.
Um, and her way of exploring that is by saying, hey, every now and then I want to go out and spend time with my friends because they mean something to me. And they have a lot of fights about that throughout the book.
Yeah, I love her. I also she's a very young woman, and
Yes.
I think within our community, you know, there's for me, I think what hit is I was very young when I had my children, and then they forced me to get married, and then I had another kid, and all of this happened before my brain was fully developed. So I still didn't know who I was. And so I think that's why I spent so much time with Chado, and I cried, and because I could identify wanting to just be a young woman, even though you do have the responsibility of childhood. I just thought that she was bold, and like close the door, like
Yeah.
just this thing about her. First of all, and I love the name. I love the name Chado.
Yeah.
Um, who?
I also want to say that for me, I was definitely dealing with my own sort of mommy issues when I was writing this book, you know. And so much of this process, writing process for me in my mid-20s was about trying to understand my parents and people like them, people who did have children very young. I have a very complicated relationship with my parents, and we're great now. But when I was younger, it was really rough
Yeah.
because they didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah. No.
And part of the healing process for me was understanding, oh my God, these people had no idea what they were doing. They were so young,
Yeah.
and they were just walking around doing their best every single day.
Yeah. I was sitting with my kids, and my daughter said, "Can you believe that when mommy was my age, she was married with 2 children?"
Yeah.
And then my son said, "Yeah, when she was my age, she was divorced with 2
Oh
children."
my God.
Right? And because they're both comedians. And
Yeah.
then my daughter, they don't. My daughter turns to me and says, "Yo, how did you keep us alive?" Because she's like, "I can't buy a house. Like, how
Yeah,
did you
yeah.
do this?" And it's a generational thing that
Yes.
that people, the privilege of being able to. It's just such an odd thing. My daughter, one time, she was like 19 years old, and she had a car, and she drove away with her friend. I went outside. She drove away, and I just started crying because I never knew what that was like to be 19 and drive away in a car with your friend
Yeah.
without a car seat in the back.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, my baby is free. And I think that you add the complexities of dealing with queerness. It is something that when they come from the Dominican Republic, they come from Haiti, they come from Puerto Rico, they come from West Africa, they come from Colombia, they come from Russia, because this is a global issue. They come with this idea, especially if they're religious, what queerness means. Also, for some reason, people think queer people can't have children.
Yeah.
Like, what about my grandkids? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I know two dads that are way better parents than
Yeah.
a woman and a man I know. I'm speaking of specific people.
Yeah.
So when you say that you had your challenges, because we see them here, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, So I will say I come from a very Catholic family, but I was very privileged because my cousin Junior, who I dedicate the book to, he came out first. He was also queer, and he came out first. He was 4 years older than me, and he kind of took the brunt of all the sort of religious questions and the anxiety. I was very rebellious. I was on my chado shit. When I came out to my mom, I was like, "Mommy, I'm in a relationship with a man."
That's so Dominican.
And
That mommy was
yeah,
so Dominican.
yes, I'm in a relationship with a man, and if you want to be part of my life, this is something you're gonna have to accept. And if you don't want to be part of my life, that's okay. But I'm just letting you know what it is.
Oh, damn.
I was very like resistant to anyone I was very resistant to asking for permission.
Good for you.
I just didn't want to give my power away to anyone, not to my parents, not to my friends or family. It took so long for me to arrive at that truth that I just couldn't give that power to even my mom. And my family has been incredibly supportive and welcoming and loving throughout all of it. So, yeah.
I think about the boys when they first go out on the town and in the Dominican Republic. And even though it is a queer experience, it is an adolescent experience, because I remember hiding and going to put eyeliner on in school with my friends, or sneaking off and going to a party with my friends. It is an adolescent experience. And I wish that queer people weren't othered as if this is this unique thing that's deviant. All of the kids want to explore. We want to, how fun was it writing about that? Because I had fun reading it.
It was fun. Yeah. First of all, I wasn't like that. I was home reading books when I was a teenager. So,
He's better than us.
yeah. I remember my mom used to, that was my going out was going to Barnes and Nobles. But even with that, mommy would be like, coño, otra vez, tú vas a salir con esa gente para Barnes and Nobles. Tú no te hartas. So it's, Dominican parents will find a way to make even reading a thing. It was fun to write. I mean, it felt just from my own mind and my own imagination, just really important to imagine what it might have been like to have had that queer adolescence in Santo Domingo, to get ready to go out partying. And also that there's a character named Renata in the book who serves as a queer mentor, who's guiding them through their first party and how to dress and how to, what to wear, all that stuff.
And how to be safe.
And how to be safe and how to take care of each other. I didn't have that, and I wish that I would have had that. And so I gave that to these characters.
It was beautiful. I love Renata. What I loved was seeing the development of each person's personality, right? Because queer people are not monolithic. Yeah. And so you see the outfit, like the shirt, and Renata fixes the shirt, right? But then you see Sal is just like, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, you need something on your face. And I thought it was just so cute. Doing what I do, I often come under fire because people say that I speak to a specific group of people and for them. And I don't speak for anyone. I speak for myself, but I do speak to a specific group of people unapologetically, especially a group of people who are often ignored in the mainstream. I felt so seen in this book when you said, this is just one example. Afuera en el piso te dejaron algo. Benito calls out, his Cibao accent is strong.
Yeah.
He just moved to Santo Domingo a year ago. From the little Sal knows about him, he left the campo and moved to the city to put his kids in a better school. Everybody's dying to leave their home for somewhere better, Sal thinks. That's how I speak, right? I am a Spanglish kid to my soul. Yeah. And I've read all the books. A Confederacy of Dunces is one of my favorite books. I've read, Toni Morrison, one of my favorite authors. But it's very seldom that I get to read a good piece of literature where the characters speak like me. How important was it for you to speak to your people?
Yeah. For me, it was important to capture the reality of these people's lives. I've been saying a lot on book tour that no one feels marginal to their own experience, right? We might be marginalized in society because of racism and homophobia and etc. But no one's walking around. I'm certainly not walking around being like, oh God, I'm such a marginal and the center is over there. No, everyone is at the center of their own experience.
That's right.
And so that means that I did not want to explain my culture in the book. I didn't want to be like, "And this is how Dominicans dance and this is how Dominicans talk." That's not interesting to me. But I thought it would also be a disservice to these people. They are living their lives. They're having a human experience, and that human experience involves Spanglish, involves their Dominican culture, and it also involves these more universal things like being an adolescent and getting ready to go out to a party. You know, I wanted it to be all of these things. People often ask me, who do you want to read your book? Who is your ideal audience? And I think when I was 24, I thought it was really important for me to give voice to a very particular queer Dominican experience. And that is still important to me. But the truth is that I want anyone to pick up the book and be able to connect to it. Just like if I could grow up on Grand Concourse or on Cypress Ave in the projects and be reading Jane Eyre and be reading all these European people who had nothing to do with my life and connect to them, then these white ladies can also read my shit and can connect to it and do the work of doing that leap across difference.
I think somebody's been reading it because there's a little nomination that came along. So I'm sure the Dominicans didn't nominate you. I think it's beautiful. I will, because this show is called Say What You Mean.
Yes.
We're gonna do it the literary way. Yeah. One of the things that happened to me after my book came out, people would say, "Why didn't you write about this?" or "Why didn't you say this?" And I would have these moments where I was like, "Oh man, I wish I could have." You know, people don't realize they edit, and there's things that are not gonna be in the book, no matter how much you write. It doesn't go with the entire theme, the story. Is there anything you wish you would have said in this book that you didn't?
That's a really good question. There were some lines that I definitely thought about taking out that I didn't, like that line about when Yadiel is like, "I hate girls." There was a chapter from Sal's mom's perspective.
Okay.
And to me, that chapter really highlighted a different sort of generational experience that I was really curious about that didn't make the cut. And then I feel like I was too lenient or too soft on the diaspora war conversations. Some of it pops up, but I'm really curious about how Black folks across the diaspora talk to each other and share space with each other. That was my experience because I grew up in the Bronx with friends from Ghana and Puerto Rico and South Carolina and everywhere, you know. I wish I would have had a little bit more of that sort of beef in there, but also some of the beautiful stuff that happens when we're just chilling, you know.
Yeah. The diaspora wars are so interesting because if you go to social media, you will think that we had a real big problem, right? And though it exists, but in the real world, like when you go to the Bronx or you go to Alapata in Miami or you go to Chicago, the Black and brown people that coexist are too busy trying to survive to be in your Twitter, 37 tweet thread about how, Dominicans are not really Black and West Africans are not really Black and slavery didn't start here. Like in the real world, And though I think that there is important and validity to have those conversations. There is a Black American experience and chattel slavery. Those are all valid. But I am a Pan-Africanist. So to me, it is important that the diaspora, especially in this moment, have some solidarity because they try and get rid of all of us. But I do think that exists in the book.
Yeah. I felt really strongly about that just because that was my reality growing up. Like it was my reality growing up, and it was also my reality when I came to literature that, especially, the legacy of Black American literature My Black American friends were the people who were like, "Bro, you're black. I don't know what you're talking about. Like you like, come do your hair or come do this." Like people were just those folks are the folks that were inviting me and educating me about blackness in a way that was really really important. And similarly, when I came to literature, it was Black American writers from the South, especially, who I was looking to and learning from to make me brave to write the book that I wrote.
Who are some of those authors?
There's this really incredible writer who passed away a couple years ago. His name is Randall Keenan, and he wrote this novel called A Visitation of Spirits, which is about this young black boy in South Carolina who is growing up queer in the 80s. And that is such a particularly challenging experience. It's a harrowing book. It's a very challenging book. But it also gave me permission to write about my own kind of experience with the specificity that it deserved. And it taught me that that too could be a universal experience. That the way to creating good art, the way toward reaching people's hearts is through specificity and through including the Spanish, including the food, including the cultural things.
Who is the closest person to you that has read this book and has had the most interesting reaction to it?
Oh, that's so interesting. I'm trying to think if anyone in my family has read it. I don't think so.
Same.
Yeah, it's just, you know, we were talking about this before we started, but so much of being a writer from the place and the people that I come from is about educating my people about even what it means to have a book out in the world.
Yep.
I don't come from literary people. And so, you know, for example, I shared with my family that I got nominated for this very bougie and fancy literary award this week, and they were very happy for me, but they don't really know what it means, you know. So I have to tell them, like, hey, it is really hard to get nominated for any kind of award in the literary world. And
Tell them to call me. I'll tell them.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. People, I will say, a question that people often ask me is if people that know me IRL, they ask me if Charo is Stephanie, who is here, one of my best friends, and I'm like, no, it's not my best friend. It's somebody. It's an imagined character. But sorry, Stephanie, that is a question that I get really often.
No, Stephanie does not look like a hoe. She looks like a good. Are you Puerto Rican? Dominican. That is so funny. My mother did not read my book because she said, I have a feeling that if I read that book, I'm going to fall out with you. And I said, you should be glad that I didn't fall out with you, and you should read the book. Yeah. Like, if we playing that game, homegirl. There is this something in our culture that we like to sweep things that are uncomfortable under the rug, and we don't want to talk about it because there's shame or guilt or both associated with what we're saying. I do it for a living, and you know, some of the people in my family have ostracized me, which worked. But did you feel any of that with the book?
I had some fears about that, yeah. But I have more fear about the thing that I'm writing right now. I'm like, oh God, I hope my dad never reads this book because, or my cousin. There's an aunt that I also don't want to read the book. So yeah, I definitely have the experience, but I will say, I have or an ex. There's an ex that I'm like, oh God, I hope my ex doesn't read this book. But with fiction, I can just say it's all made up. It's not real. What are you talking about? I think fiction writers have a very nice shield. And sometimes it's BS. Sometimes
What-
it is just.
It is 100. But
Yeah.
the narcissist, the narcissist in all of us. Like,
Yeah.
I know somebody is like, I know this is me.
Yes.
I know
Yes,
this
yes,
is
yes.
me. You know.
Well, I will say, and also, I work really hard, and so much of the craft is about making sure that these people are imagined people. And at the same time, I think it is really important to recognize that some of the genius of writing fiction comes from intuition. And that means that some of the stuff that happens on the page you're not in control of. And so it sometimes does mean that you are shading your auntie by mistake in fiction, and you don't even know that you're doing that. So
Yeah, subconsciously. I do have to ask you the question, if there was one thing you wish you would have said that you didn't say, what is it that you wouldn't mind sharing with us?
okay, I have two things. Do you want the emotional one or do you want the messy one?
Which one's? But which one do you want first? Messy first.
A messy up. All right. This side of the room. Let's see. So the messy one is that a while ago I discovered that an ex of mine was doing stuff he wasn't supposed to do, stepping out on the relationship. I guess that's what people call cheating. And I found out through very sort of messy ways. And when I confronted him about it, he got very emotional, and I was consoling him. And that was a very good thing to do, but I wish I would have cursed him out.
Yeah. So curse them out. So what would
No,
you
no. I think the very good Catholic in me is very
oxymoron?
is very.
Gonna get in trouble.
I have a lot of investment in being good. And being good is something that I aspire to all the time. But I think I betray myself sometimes because I'm so invested in being good that I don't hold people accountable. And I got to learn to hold people accountable sometimes.
Yeah.
No.
I think even Michelle Obama took that when they go low,
Yeah.
we go high. I think she took it back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because at this point, baby, ooh. What's the emotional one?
The emotional one is that sometimes we get into these fights with our loved ones that aren't worth it. And in 2018, I was fighting with my cousin about something that I can't even remember, which means that it was really stupid. And the night before he passed away, my grandma called me and she was like, "Hey, I hear that you're arguing with your cousin. Call him. Like, this is stupid. Y'all are fighting for no reason. Just check in on him, see how he's doing." And I didn't because my ego was in the way and I was mad about something very stupid. And then the next morning he passed away. And I wish I would have called him. Yeah. That's something that I think about all the time. And it informs so much of how I live my life.
That's beautiful. I wouldn't be me if I didn't release you from that. And I can't release you from it, only you, but I want you to say that one experience doesn't undo a lifetime. I'm sure your cousin graduated from this life knowing how much you loved him and how important you was. I don't know why I feel like I've been here before, so I'm always speaking on behalf of the dead. It happens all the time. Anytime somebody loses their mom, I'm always like, I'm part of this mom network, and I always tell my kids, y'all got 30 days to grieve, and on the 31st day, I'm gonna start haunting that ass. If you not, if y'all don't look like you are back to joy, I don't want you to live a life of, sadness. And I'm sure anybody who loves you
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been quite a couple years. But I think I'm getting there. I'm getting slowly but surely to the joy
Oh, nice.
and to the like listening to the music we listen to together and just being happy because I think he would have wanted that.
Of course.
Yeah.
So tell me about the moment where you wrote the last few words of this book and you were done.
Yeah.
What did that feel like for you?
I'm a very intense person. I still am, I think. But I was a very intense 25-year-old when I first started writing this book. I was having a quarter life crisis is what I was telling everyone. I was like, I really got to write something that if I die tomorrow, I can die with pride or whatever, you know. And I just felt this huge amount of relief. I have this desire in this life to be useful to people, to be of use in some kind of way. And I see my art as a way of doing that, of being of service. So when I finished the novel, I thought, okay, I think I have done something worth my salt. I've done something worth my time here on earth that feels like I've contributed. And that felt very, very good.
That's very immigrant of you.
Is it? Okay.
Immigrant child of you.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
always feeling like we have to prove our worth through our works.
Yes.
And the reality of it is that you are worthy of it all just because you are here.
Yeah.
And if you're a good Catholic, the Bible says, by the breath you are loved,
yes,
right?
That's true.
I know the Bible very well because I have to use it when I'm arguing with Christians. I was raised in church.
They don't care about that. You could quote it at them,
no,
and I'll be like,
you want to shut a Catholic up?
Yeah.
All you got to do is say, but the kids.
yeah,
Game
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
Nobody's bad. No,
No.
everybody just silently creeps out the room. They're like,
Yeah.
you can't say anything about the kids.
Yeah.
Y'all got awkward. When I was writing my book, I realized that when I wrote about my Uncle Carlos, who died when I was a little girl, that I never had the opportunity to grieve him because I was so busy taking care of the people who thought that they were the only ones grieving him, my mom, my grandmother. And they would take grief away from me because I was a child. They didn't think I really understood what was going on, but my uncle is no longer here. So I understand to some degree. But when I wrote about him in the book, I cried. I remember sitting up just crying. And finally, I was alone in my solitude, grieving my uncle. And it was the best feeling in the world, as bad as it felt, that nobody could take it away from me. Tell me about your emotional journey with this book and some of those moments for you.
Yeah, I think I cried. I was talking about this recently at an event. There's this idea that being an intelligent writer is all about thinking, and that that genius or intelligence is grounded in thought. And I feel very strongly that there is a genius in feeling, and that in order to write a story that a reader will be able to feel, that I have to emotionally push myself to feel as much as I can these characters' feelings, not my own feelings, their feelings about what's happening. And so there were quite a few moments. I think there's a death in the book that was really hard to write, and that made me very emotional.
Me too.
Charo makes a very difficult decision 2/3 of the way through the book, and that was really hard to write. So there were quite a few moments, and I think for a long time I was very ashamed because I don't know, I grew up listening to these very fancy writers who I admired, but who were like, no, I'm not emotional when I write. I'm logical and I'm thoughtful and I'm severe all the time. And that just wasn't my truth. And it has never been my truth. I have to push myself emotionally.
Yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that a lot of that is bullshit.
Yes.
And I mean that from respectfully, as the kids
Yeah.
would say. I think that, like, I don't know how you read The Jungle without crying,
Mm-hmm.
or how you read The Great Gatsby and not feel sadness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think for us, our feelings are always being monitored or policed. And for us, when we're overly emotional, it is attributed to being a characteristic of being a person of color.
Oh yeah.
And I think we internalize that sometimes, because I think that we have an EQ problem in the world. That what we're seeing happening is not just because people can't read, but it's also because
They can't
process,
feel. Yeah.
and they're not processing their feelings.
Yeah. Yeah.
This book made me feel so much, but I think that's what makes it such an intelligent book. Like,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you. Yeah. I was very intentional about that. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, I just felt so much stuff with this book, like even like sexually aroused. Like I was like, yeah,
Okay.
just
Okay.
not even in a way that it was. I mean, I didn't masturbate to your book,
Okay.
but
And if you did, that's okay.
no. If I did, I would be okay with it too. But I don't. I know I'm at the place where I don't apologize anymore for being me. But it was an arousal. It was like sexually a sexual arousal that was also intellectual. That in a way, to be able to look at myself and feel sexy because of Chado, and being able to say, because this is not the standard of beauty that we're seeing.
Yeah.
This you gave me an icon, right? You gave me somebody that is an everyday person that epitomizes what I think is beautiful, and I need that because I didn't have that growing up. So thank you.
Yeah. No, I had fun writing the sex scenes in the book, and I think this is another thing in sort of the tradition of literary fiction that I was trying to challenge. There's a lot of things that people don't do in literary fiction. Yadan, my incredible editor, one of the things that he pushed me to think about was how money shows up in the book. Because in literary fiction, people don't talk about money. People either have it or they don't, but nobody's worried about rent.
Yeah.
People just have the rent somehow, So that was a way that I pushed myself. And then also through writing about sex in a way that felt realistic and honest. So some of the intimacy in the book is awkward. And some of the intimacy is sexy and is emotional. And I wanted to write about all of that in a way that felt just real,
Yeah, no, you know what you did is you freed a lot of girls who are told if you have sex with a guy on the first date, it's over. He's never going to call you again. Yeah. And I was like, that's a lie. But you're not told that growing up. You're told how much we've been told that our virginity is directly connected and associated to our worth. And when we lose it, our value goes down, right? So I think that it was very progressive.
Okay, so Dominican culture is very interesting because in Dominican culture is sort of, the veneer is that we are very Catholic and very proper, and that if you just look at the surface of the culture, it's just men that are always cheating and men are doing all this stuff. But if you get underneath, if you're inside the culture and then you understand that Dominican women are doing all sorts of things that are underneath, the sort of things that are whispered about. And Chado's sexuality was inspired by people that I know who on the surface were very sort of maybe prim and proper, or sort of were communicating certain things to their parents, but on the low, they were getting down and they were doing things that were not what was expected of them as proper señoritas or whatever,
Yeah. You know what I think is interesting about Latinos and Caribbean people that are super Catholic, that they're all religious until bachata comes on, salsa, compa, and then you're like, wait a minute, this is Catholic? Y'all grinding, y'all everything but had an orgasm on the dance floor. And I think it's just so interesting that we really see ourselves in this pious way when we're so sensual and
And that's why I have no interest personally. I understand that we are so interested in what people say. When Dominicans say they're not black, or when Dominican women say they're not hooking up with people in the way that they might be hooking up with people. Social media has pushed us to pay attention to what people say, and what I'm interested in is how people live their lives.
Yeah.
That is where the truth is.
Yes.
So a Dominican person might tell you, my grandfather, who is a black man, might tell you, I'm not black, whatever. But the lived experience is entirely different. And that to me feels like a much more interesting and nuanced way of looking at people's lives than how they might identify on Twitter or what they might share with social media.
Big facts. That's how I feel about Puerto Rican and Dominican men who are so homophobic with their eyebrows arched
And the tight pants.
and the tight pants. You see them and they look so manicured, and not to attribute that to queerness, but there is an identifying with this, which I think is so interesting. Those Puerto Rican dudes, I'm like, bro, you look like a Kardashian. Like, how dare you? Like, and then they're like the pájaros, and I'm like, this is projection.
And not only how they're dressing, in our cultures, a lot of these supposed heterosexual men are not as heterosexual as they might admit.
Sure.
Right? We talk about DLs and the DL men in the American context. If you go to DR, talk to any sex worker, any queer person that you know, and they will tell you that there are a lot of men who are married with kids, who are going out and having love affairs, queer love affairs.
No, I know. Gadiel always says that his dad would say, un hombre al año no hace daño. Yeah. It rhymes, but it's a man a year
Does no harm.
does no harm. But it rhymes in Spanish. But you hear people laughing that stuff off, but they bout that life, right? I just want to make sure that I'm being mindful of time, because I do want to hear from the audience. I want to ask you about where we are right now, because where we are right now is a very unique place where most people who have a bit of sense, and this is not political party driven, but most people who have a bit of sense, who have some form of, common sense, are feeling a pressure. People that are not in the top 1%, that can't just get up and move to Portugal because Instagram says so, are feeling this pressure. But there's this specific animus towards immigrants in this country, which is so weird to say out loud, that there is an anti-immigrant sentiment in a country who is built on immigration. How important do you think it is for Loca to show up in the world, and you?
You know, when I'm making art, I have to step away from the political questions, because there is a way in which the political questions can dehumanize the people that I'm writing about, right? So when I'm in the process, I can't think about any of this stuff. I'm just like, I have human questions that I am asking myself, and I have to ground the work in that. Now that the work is in the world, I couldn't have anticipated. I started working on this book 7 years ago, so I couldn't have anticipated that we would be where we are. It seems, I believe in the power of art, and I believe that art has a great capacity of moving people emotionally and intellectually to places that they might not consider otherwise. And so if somebody picks up Loca and is able to engage with the immigrant experience in a new way, then that makes me happy. That makes me feel like I've done some of the work. And I am also very severe about this. I do not believe that art is enough. in artistic spaces and literary spaces, we like, in order to sort of legitimize the work that we are doing, we talk about the political utility of our work. And I believe, of course, that art has a role, but art is not policy. Art is not going out and doing being a part of a protest necessarily. And that is the stuff that we need first and foremost right now. Again, I hope to be a part of the conversation, and I hope to inspire and move people's hearts and minds. But we are at a very severe moment right now, and what we need is action.
Yep. Dollars. I hope that now that so many people are feeling it, I've always hoped that that would bring us to solidarity. And that's not to ignore the specific issues that we are plagued by in our individual communities. You know, I know that anti-Blackness exists within the Latino community. I know that anti-immigrant sentiment exists in the Black American community. But all of this is by design. And I think that this is a moment to put that to the side. And our economic violence is the most important.
Yes. I agree. I think... you know, one of my favorite writers, June Jordan, said that she was a very strong believer in that it is not enough to organize with people along the lines of similarities that we share in terms of oppression. Because her thing was, when we get the monsters off our backs or the oppressor off your neck, we may all want to run in different directions. And so it makes a lot more sense to, instead of say we are all being oppressed in sort of a similar way, let's band together, to say we have a similar vision of the world. Can we create a vision of the world that coheres? And then let's try to work toward that. I believe so much in sort of solidarity across difference. Yeah. And I believe in caring about people who have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you are not an immigrant, but that you see immigrants being oppressed at the level that they're being oppressed at, I would hope that you see that as your responsibility to show up for these folks. Just as I'm making my responsibility to show up for people who do not share my identities or my experiences.
Yeah, I agree with that. Tamir Rice is a sore spot for me, that baby. And for me, it's important. Even when I speak to my people, because I don't need to go speak to other people, I need to chin check my people and say, if this doesn't matter to you, then don't ask anybody to be worried. I believe it's important for me to say reparations are important to Black people in America. Because by the way, the Dutch, the British, the Spanish, the French, they owe reparations throughout the Caribbean and throughout this world as well. So I do believe that it is important that, and by the way, Puerto Rico is owed reparations from everybody because it's the first colony of the United States. And I think that, I think we have to have those conversations where we have the consideration of others, because if not, what are we doing? I want to say two things to you. One is congratulations for writing such a beautiful piece of literature that doesn't just make you think, but does make you feel. I love books, and my favorite books live in my room. My second favorite books live in my living room, and my least favorite books live in my office. And the books I think are trash are at Goodwill. Because I'm not plaguing anybody with those books.
And they're heavy to carry.
Yeah, they are. And it's sometimes, there's this moment. But this book lives in my room because it is a representation of people that I know, that I love, myself. And then I want to say thank you for being so thoughtful and considerate and loving to breathe life into these characters that now live with me and whoever reads this book forever. I think you deserve a standing ovation everywhere you go. And I want to start with it now.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. Um, you gotta take your flowers. You gotta receive your flowers.
Thank you.
People have said things about me on the internet that have been cruel, and I always pray for those people. I pray to the people I don't believe in for them. But I one of the things that I am for real in real life is a champion for my people, which is one of the reasons my representation say I'm not more successful, because I want to show this person. I want to do this person. I want people to know this. You are one of the people that I want everybody to know about, because it's just beautiful to see. You know, I love books, and just to know that you just care that much. You know, you care a lot. I want to open up the floor for a couple of questions from the audience. Okay, how much time do we have?
We already went over the thing. Okay. Any 2 questions? Like 5 minutes. Okay, 2 questions. Yeah. Okay. Any 2 questions? You can ask us anything, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
You said that you started listening to music that you and your cousin used to listen to. What is that?
My cousin was really into K-pop, but K-pop obviously from like 2018, or 2016, 2017, so like 21, that kind of thing. We also used to listen to like Tattoo. Does anyone know who Tattoo is?
Yes.
Queer icons from like, although sort of queer icons from the early 2000s. That was my ish. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You said you're working on something now. Is there anything you can tell us about it?
Yes, I can tell you that I am. I did that a little bit in the first book, but I'm working through more of my mommy issues in the second book. The second book is about. I don't know if Yadan is here. I don't know if he's gonna yell at me. It's about a relationship between a gay son and his mother.
Is it based off the chapter you took out of your book?
It started there, yeah.
I could ask you that later.
Alejandro, now that you're published and you've been edited, well, first let me just say, I could tell, I knew who your editor was, but reading the book, I could tell that you were edited by a non-white person, because there's a lot of stuff in the book that I'm like, white person would have edited, would I asked them to cut that. So congratulations to both of you for letting the book be what it is. But now that you are published and have been edited, when you're working with your students, do you approach their work like an editor or a reader? How do you approach your students?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely, Yadan is in my brain when I'm reading my students' work, because I'm like, okay, would Yadan say like move this, or like that question about money? That question about money is always in my brain now. I can't get it out. But getting really practical on the page is really important, and that's something that I got from my editor that I apply to my students. I tell them, you know, if this person works at a coffee shop, how much money are they making, and do they like that they're making that amount of money, or are they like, you know, rich person who's just doing this for fun. So
Yadan Israel is here. He
Hi,
edited
Yadan.
the book. One of the shining stars. Yadan edited my book, which a lot of people don't know. I call him my editor in life, because everything I write, I send to him. I was gonna send him a text the other day before I sent it to somebody, because he'll say, Aida, let's think about this, because he. So big ups. I want to say thank you to every single one of you for being here. This sea of melanin is just beautiful. It is a form of resistance unto itself in this moment where we're fighting these fights. Women, I don't hate white people. Contrary to what some people think, I think all of the people are necessary for the battle, and I think if they are down to put that privilege down and go to fight with us, it's going to take all hands on deck. And I really want some of these white women to really understand that they are on the back of the bus too. But I just want to say, I don't think anything is a coincidence. We all ended up here together in this moment because there's something bigger than us that has us here, and let this moment just be a launch pad for something greater. Alejandro is going to be signing some books And I'm here for a few. I have a show tonight, so I'm getting ready to go to my show in a little bit. But I just want to say thank you. You guys have been an amazing audience. You've given us amazing energy. And I wish you nothing but success. I think you are success. And as much as we get to see our pain and our experiences in life, we have a right to see our joy. And thank you for giving us that.
Thank you so much for being here with me.
Always.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all so much for coming. I will say, I have to say this at every single event. People always ask me, come up to me, they're like, how do I support you? Do I follow you on social media? Do I follow you to the bathroom? The way to support a writer is by buying a writer's book. So we have copies here for sale. I'll be signing books. If you like what you heard here today, buy a book for a friend. Aida's book is also on sale. She'll be signing books. So please, consider buying a book and telling a friend also. And read it. Yes. Thank you all so much.
All right, give it up one more time, please, for Aida and for Alejandro.